Welcome everybody to Geekvice episode 198, proving any vice with enough geek can become a virtue. My name's Morph. That man's Kip. Good evening, Kip.
Good evening.
We are back after a couple week vacation, hiatus, whatever you want to call it. And of course, the YouTube wants to be a bitch. But they can deal with it. So what we've got going on, or what's been going on, is a couple weeks ago, Kip was in Las Vegas for a conference, so we didn't record. And then last week, I got sick before Thanksgiving, or just felt like crap. I had one of those, 24-hour bug type things where you basically just go to bed early, sleep it off, and the next day you're like, I feel a million times better.
Sounds like a hangover.
I wish it was a hangover. Plus, my mother-in-law was staying here at the house, and so I blame her. That's what I blame.
Okay.
I mean, why not?
That's what they're there for.
Exactly. So we've missed the last couple weeks. So there's been quite a bit that have gone on. But let's see. We've got some secret project working on with the Podcast Arcade. So keep watching the Podcast Arcade on Twitter and on Facebook because it'll be, the news will be coming out soon. It's gonna be coming out soon.
It's got to be, because it sounds like it's almost done on one end.
Yeah, it's almost ready to get into whatever this secret project is going to be getting into the hands of all of the rest of us in the Podcast Arcade. So, yeah, hopefully we'll have some more stuff on that here soon. And then also, along with that, is Geekvice Gaming is going strong. There is, I think we've got 10 episodes of this XCOM 2 Long War 2 campaign up there. There are future ones coming out, some more episodes that I need to do the editing on to get back up there. So those are still going strong, and if anyone is watching that and has played XCOM 2, I basically realized I thought I was playing through it smartly at the beginning, and really I was a complete and utter idiot and made some really bad mistakes early on, and I've slogged my way through it, and it's made it a lot more challenging, and I think is going to turn this into a lot longer of a series than I thought it was going to be. But we'll see if I can make it to the end. I don't know.
I think you will.
I've logged almost, I think we're getting close to 100 hours in XCOM 2. So not all of them being recorded, but because I started a campaign on the side just for myself to play on the days when I didn't have time or didn't want to break out the recording software, and that is going a lot differently than the one I recorded because I learned a lot while recording. So it's kind of fun, learning new things, and there will be some more stuff coming out with that. I created a mod list on Steam, so if anyone is interested, they can go look up Geekvice on Steam, and I think it's under Geekvice. I think you can look it up by Geekvice, or you can also look it up under Morpheus. You can find me on Steam, and you can check out my content that's on there because I've created a mod list that I've been using for XCOM, and I'll do another one for some of the other games that I've got that I'm recording. Been using a few more mods to clean up the way some of the UI works on some of these games. That's one of the advantages to computer games, so you can do that. So definitely worth checking out. How about Holly's World? She's still off in the ether?
She's still off in the ether.
Yeah, of
I
course
keep
she
giving I
is.
keep giving her a hard time about it, but that doesn't seem to make any difference.
I understand. I understand.
Yeah, she's
How?
been knee deep in her internship at the CrossFit gym, so that keeps
Yeah,
her busy.
yeah, I can understand that. How was your holiday? Last week was Thanksgiving. How was your holiday week?
It was good. So the week before, I spent the entire week in Vegas, and then I had two days back at work, and then off to Colorado for Thanksgiving. So I'm kind of tired of being away from home right now, but it was good. I got to see my parents, my brother, and his family. The funny thing about it is yeah, I do a podcast and all that, but I am an introvert, pretty much big time introvert, and everybody else in my family is highly extroverted. So by the time the visit is over with, I am ready for just absolute silence. Well, it's a 7.5 hour drive, and I'd say 7 hours and 15 minutes of that is in complete silence. The only thing we say is like, I'm going to stop here for gas, or are you hungry? That's about all that gets said.
Yeah, I
I love my family, but there's only so much talking I can take.
I can understand that. Understand that.
But it was
Um,
good food, good time. We did a white elephant gift exchange.
yeah.
Everybody ended up with a pretty cool gift except for me, which kind of sucked, but
What'd
that's
you end up
that's
with?
it's wow. What is the official name of that thing? It's a medical thing that you urinate in. It's not a
Oh,
catheter. It's just a plastic jug.
okay.
I don't know. I don't even know where you go and buy one of those, but apparently my niece found one, and that's the gift I got stuck with.
Oh,
So,
awesome.
yeah,
That's
not awesome.
yeah. That's something for you.
How
That
was your Thanksgiving?
it was good. It was good. Had the in-laws in town and my wife's in-laws in town, and um, just overall it was pretty good. I had lots of family in town. I will say the one nice thing was it was at our house, so the food, like, my wife knocked it out of the park. The food was delicious. It was amazing as always. Her cooking is really good. Um, but on top of that, since it was at my house, then that meant I got to do a lot. I got to do a lot more of what I wanted to do, which meant me and the boys played a lot of board games. So we played
Sweet.
we played board games almost every day from Thursday through today. Um, so for the last almost full week, we have played board games almost every night, and or at least during the day at some point. So we've played several games of Legendary. My oldest and I have played Legendary. We've done the randomizer, and last night when we played, we it wasn't a win or a loss. It was a draw. I've never had a draw in Legendary before. Um, a draw is where the villain deck gets completely used up. So you go through all the villains, but you didn't defeat the mastermind 4 times. So
Huh.
um, usually that villain deck is really big, and it has been. I mean, it was really big last night and tonight. Tonight we actually went through it. I won on the last card. So the rule is that when the last card is played, you finish out your turn. The last villain is played. You finish out your turn, and then from that point on, like at that point, the game is over. It's a draw, and it means the mastermind escaped. you were able to defeat the scheme, but you weren't able to defeat the mastermind. You just add up your points there, and you go from there. Tonight I
Right.
played the last card off the villain deck, and I was able to. I had a hand strong enough to defeat the mastermind twice, and we were able to basically defeat the mastermind in that spot. I also scored the highest number of points victory points that I've ever scored. I had 50 victory points, so I was really proud of myself. I crushed my 8-year-old son, so that's a good feeling because usually it's the other way around. Um, he is definitely a card shark, and he likes to. He doesn't necessarily he finds interesting synergies between the heroes, and with legendary, what we use is we use an app called the Legendary Card Randomizer to pick the villains, the henchmen, the scheme, the mastermind, and the heroes. Like, it's all picked for us, and we just put it together that way. So it's all random, which is kind of awesome that you have this, have a tool like that to be able to use.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy watching an 8-year-old look at these cards, these heroes that come out, and going, okay, he just starts buying heroes, and you look at him and you're like, dude, why are you just picking random cards? Like, you're not. In my head, I would say, okay, if you've got heroes like you've got Cyclops, you've got Deadpool, and you've got Nightcrawler, and Spider-Man. Let's go with those 4. Me personally, I would just go, okay, I'm going to focus on Cyclops and Nightcrawler. Those two cards look like they might work well together, so I'm going to buy those 2 types of cards, and I'm not going to worry about the other ones. Reese goes, and you see him grab like one of this one, and 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 he's just grabbing whatever cards he can to build his deck. Each turn he's going and recruiting these guys and builds his deck, and then when it gets down to it, I'm sitting there going, all right, every once in a while I'll have a really good hand where I'll be able to do something. He has, for whatever reason, he sees this synergy between certain cards, between the different heroes, and he plays them and ends up like just kicking ass on every hand. And I just look at him like, dude, hey, why do you keep buying the cards that I want to get? He's like, I don't know, I just could get that card. Like, I needed something for 3 recruit, and that guy was 3, so I'm gonna get him. Like, but then on the next turn, he's like, it plays perfectly into whatever hand he has. It's like, man, he doesn't. I don't even know that he sees it, or if it's just idiot savant or what. I don't know.
Well, he sounded pretty specific. I needed somebody with 3 recruits, so
Yeah,
he has a plan.
he has a plan, and man, does it seem to work more often than it doesn't. And so on that same note, my wife and my youngest son played chess tonight, and my wife actually won. She beat a 5-year-old at chess, and she was ecstatic about this. So those are the kind of kids that we're raising here in the Lammers household. So yeah, it's been a fun night. We've played or a fun week. We've played Mice and Mystics. We've finished the last 2 chapters of that game, so we finished the story. It was a lot of fun, really challenging. Almost lost a couple times in those last couple chapters. So just tons of fun. And on that same note, we played Mice and Mystics Sunday morning. I promised Conley that we would play the last chapter Sunday morning when I got up. Well, he woke up at a little bit before 7 and climbed up on my bed and started trying to lift my eyelids to wake me up because he wanted to play. I told him we would play when I got up, and I'm like, no, no, no. I told you after breakfast. He's like, fine. So, but we played Mice and Mystics for almost, because it's that last chapter is a long chapter and a very challenging chapter. We played that for somewhere between 3 and 4 hours because we started it pretty early in the morning and got done just before football started at noon. And no complaints out of a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old about playing. They were,
That's a good game then.
yeah, it kept them engrossed. It kept them focused. We did have to pause a little bit in there to get something to eat because they were hungry because they basically skipped breakfast to just play the game. So it was a lot of fun. Highly recommend that game for any ages because it's simple enough that kids can play, but it's fun enough that adults can have a good time with it and not get too bored. So
I like that combination.
yeah, so lots of board games being played here. My next goal is to I broke out my copy from when I was a kid of Risk. So that's going to be the next one that I teach Reese to play.
Yeah, he's getting into that wheelhouse where that game is
Yeah.
perfect for him.
Yeah. So we're going to go on I don't know what is that? World Domination. That's what we're going to do.
There you go. I first learned to play Risk on the sidewalk in Las Vegas in front of one of my friend's house. The first time I played Risk was outside on the
Nice.
sidewalk. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that's fun. Oh, the other game that he expressed an interest to, which I'll have to teach him, is Tricked Out Hero
Nice.
by our guys at Prolific Games. So I'm gonna be breaking out that game here soon, hopefully, and teach the family how to play a little Tricked Out Hero.
That's a game that doesn't get to the table enough.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And I think it's because it's just complex enough that it requires a little bit. It requires a little bit more explanation. Witch Slapped and Flapjacks and Sasquatches make it to the table a lot when we're looking for a quick game. That and Oregon Trail. When all four of us are going to sit down and play, it's usually Witch Slapped or Oregon Trail, and then occasionally Flapjacks and Sasquatches. And I think it's because those games, the rule set is so simple to understand and so quick and easy to pick up. Tricked Out Hero is a little bit more complicated, but Reese really likes the card game mechanic of it. So he also doesn't like losing. So I think he kind of tends to steer towards games that are kind of have that cooperative sense, and it's more just fun competitiveness like Legendary. So, but we'll see if I can't build that competitive spirit up a little bit in him. He just doesn't like losing. That's his problem.
You know what? I don't blame him.
So, all right, we've gone on long enough about all this jibber jabber of what we've done this last week. Let's get into the meat and potatoes. Let's talk about some Netflix shows. So, I think we should start off with this one you put on here because I was reading the wiki for it and it sounds really interesting. Why don't you tell us a little bit about The Killing?
All right, so we got into The Killing because we watched Mindhunters on Netflix, which I highly recommend if you haven't seen that. It's only the first season so far. Highly recommend watching that. So that got us in the whole crime drama mode. So we were looking for something. And of course it's called The Killing, so you figure crime drama. Let's check it out. It says Netflix original, which is misleading because I think when it was on like I don't know, like the USA Network or
It
something.
was it originally it was a American crime drama television series that premiered in 2011 on AMC.
AMC, that's what it was.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's only 4 seasons,
Hmm.
but
But only two of those seasons were on AMC. It was
okay,
canceled after the second season.
okay. Well, Chad,
I only know this because I looked it up. When you put it in the
yeah,
show
see, I
notes,
don't.
I'm like, I've never heard of this thing. So I looked it
Yeah.
up on the wiki. On
So
the wiki.
the whole reason we watched it to begin with, besides it being a crime drama and we were in the mood, is it's got Joel Kinnaman,
Hmm.
which you may know as Rick Flag from Suicide Squad.
Yep.
So it's like, well, I kind of liked his Rick Flag character. Let's check him out in the Killing. Um, just to start off, to kind of quote, sorry for this, the Expendables, but they say when it's time to go dark, we go pitch black. That's this TV show. It's dark.
Yeah.
It's extraordinarily dark. It's not gory. It's not. There's no rough language. There's no nudity. I mean, it was on AMC, so it's in those kind of aspects, it's tame. In subject matter, it's not tame. The first 2 seasons are the same. It's the same mystery they're trying to solve. So after season 1, they don't solve it,
Okay.
and then season 2 they solve it. And maybe people didn't like the twist at the end. Maybe that's why it got canceled, or they didn't like the fact that they had to wait for the second season to find out what happened. But it's not like anything you've seen before. Just to put it bluntly, it takes place in Seattle. I did not realize how much it frickin' rains in Seattle. I
Oh yeah.
swear, 95% of the scenes it's pouring,
Yeah.
frickin' pouring on these people. It's like, man, I'm glad I don't live in Seattle. This looks like it sucks. but the first season, this girl gets murdered. They find her body in the trunk of a car, pushed into a lake. The whole season of season 1 and then all of season 2 is this trying to solve who killed this girl. And as you're watching this show, they steer you in so many directions. You're like, oh, definitely this guy. And then 2 episodes later, it's like, damn it wasn't that guy. Okay. Oh, it's this guy. Oh, shit, it wasn't him either. It's that way. And the whole time I'm like, if it's this guy, I'm going to be pissed. And then they like make it look like it's him. You're like, holy shit. And then it ended up not being him. And then at the end, it ended up being somebody that you did not even come close to suspecting.
Wow.
And when these shows usually end, there's usually that feeling of like, finally, great, they solved this mystery, all is good. No. Nothing. This show is basically predicated around the idea that anybody involved in murder loses. Nobody wins.
Right.
Not the police, not the murderer, definitely not the victim or the victim's family. Everybody that's touched by this murder suffers. This is why it's dark.
Right.
There's not one happy moment in the entire show, but it is riveting. I highly recommend it. I don't want to talk too much because I don't want to give anything away. I have 2 episodes left of the entire series, and I'm done. This last season has been really, really tough. but really, really good. It's only 6 episodes, so it goes by quick. Just like the first mystery, the second mystery bleeds into it's all of season 3 and bleeds quite a bit into season 4. So there's no quick resolution to anything in this show. Um, there's two things you'll feel the entire time you're watching this show. You're gonna feel soaking wet because it freaking rains all the time, and you're gonna feel like you smell cigarette smoke because everybody smokes like a chimney. Well, at least the two main characters do. And then there's a lot of shots where they're in the car smoking away, and like, I feel saturated in cigarette smoke. As a non-smoker, it's like, ugh, it kind of gives you the heebie-jeebies. But if you don't mind dark, if you don't mind the fact that there's no real gore, thankfully. I mean, there's blood splatter or stuff like that, but about all you see on the dead victim is like a hand or something like that, sticking out of the body bag, or
Right.
you don't really see anything disturbing, but the subject matter that they cover is pretty disturbing, and the effect on everybody's lives, how it basically just wrecks everybody's life, including the detectives that are trying to solve it. So if you don't mind all that and you like good acting and a great story, I highly recommend The Killing.
Very good. Yeah, I'll have to go add that to the queue. Sounds really
Yeah,
interesting.
it's interesting. I highly recommend watching, if you watch more than one episode at a time, before you go to bed, watch a comedy for like a little palate cleansing.
Gotcha.
Because the other night we watched a couple episodes and then we went to go grab something for dinner and I got in the car. It's like, I'm kind of depressed. It's that kind of a show. And it's like, wow. I'm looking forward to it being over,
Right.
only because this mystery that's going on right now is really tough. When it's over with, there'll be some closure, even for the people watching the show. I'll be sad that there's no more episodes of it, but I think it'll actually be good not to watch something so heavy. But
Yeah.
I've enjoyed the episodes we've watched, but it's heavy.
Well, here's something also something interesting for you. This show's ended 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Season 4 was in 2014, so
Yep.
it kind of snuck under the radar. I'm looking at this like 2011. That was even that was pre Walking Dead on AMC, I believe.
I think so.
So I mean, it was like AMC has had some really good shows come on their, come across their channel that have missed finding their crowd for one reason or another and have gotten picked up somewhere else and taken off. And since The Walking Dead kind of hit, it seems like now anything they touch is gold. And so it's kind of interesting hearing this thing that you're watching on Netflix, The Killing, being on AMC and then going to Netflix. It's like, if people go and do their research into this, it's just going to boost AMC's ratings even more, because people are going to be like, man, that was another show that we missed, that we could have been watching on AMC that was really good. So
Yeah.
I find
And
that stuff funny.
I don't know if it was. I haven't done much research on any of the behind the scenes aspects, but the credits that roll,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of like Swedish
Yes.
type of names. So
Well, this
I'm thinking
it
I'm
is
thinking I might have something to do with it.
yeah, this is based off of a Danish television series. I'm not even going to
Okay.
attempt to say the name of that, but it's basically translate to The Crime. So it's got a European, you know, base to it, which I think is also why it's a 4 season done. They even make some comments in the wiki that the fourth season was specifically like put out there to try to put some closure to the whole thing, like wrap it all up in a bow. And I think that's, I,
Yeah,
I think
and you
more
know
TV
what?
shows should do stuff like that.
I made that comment to the wife the other night. It's like this show feels like they had a story to tell,
Hmm.
and once they tell it, they're done. Because the way this season is ending, I don't know if it's going to end this way, but it sure feels like that's that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'll be curious. What's funny is the show That's it's based around two detectives, Holder, Detective Holder, which is played by Joel Kinnaman, and Detective Linden,
Hmm.
who is this tiny little redhead woman. Never heard of. I don't think I've seen her in anything else. I looked her up on IMDb, and I know for sure I have not seen her in anything else. And
Yeah, I don't know.
it's
Morelli Innos? I don't
yeah,
know.
Mariel. I'm gonna say it's
Mariel?
Mariel. Yeah,
Could be Mariel. I suck at
Mariel
names.
Enos. Yeah, I looked up her profile, and it's like, okay, I haven't seen any of that stuff. I didn't see World War Z. Um, she's in a lot of
Was,
post production stuff.
was World
So
War Z the one? Was that the one with the fast moving zombies and Brad Pitt?
yes,
I did see that. That movie kind of sucked.
yeah, I didn't hear good things, so I didn't watch it. She
Someone
was
Like
in,
You. I know that movie.
yeah,
Chick flick.
yeah. She was
Yeah,
in
I
some
don't know.
stuff that you've heard of, but like she did an episode of Lie to Me, an episode of CSI Miami.
Rescue
Um,
Me.
yeah, shows that
Without a Trace.
where she probably was somebody they interviewed or something,
Right.
on one of the crimes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You turn on the show, you see her, and you're like, yeah, I don't think I've seen her in anything. And then you look it up, it's like, well, I saw, you
Yeah.
know,
I've I've seen almost
Lie to
every
Me, but I
episode
don't
of
remember
this,
her.
but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So before, I guess Big Love was probably her big break,
Yeah.
and then The Killing, where she got to actually be the lead.
Right.
But yeah, it's
And something called The Catch, which I have no idea what that is. TV
yeah,
series.
I don't know either. But
So,
she looks
huh.
like she might have been a main character in that. I don't know. All I know is she's fantastic in The Killing.
Good to
The
know.
show starts off where she is basically retiring on her. This is supposed to be her last day, and she gets called out to a murder scene, and the guy who was supposed to replace her is Holder,
Mm-hmm.
and they're at odds with each other. It's like, why aren't you going away? And she's one of those people that once something gets started, she can't let it go.
Right.
She's got to finish it. And then they end up being really good partners, and things keep going from there. So when it first started, I thought, well, maybe this is the only episode she's in. It's going to be Joel Kinnaman's show, but nope, she's the main character, really. And then Kinnaman is like main character B, but
Gotcha.
they're both completely flawed. She's one of those people that she's really good at her job. She sucks at everything else in life. Everything else, her relationships, being a mom. She's terrible at all of it. All she is good at is being a cop.
Hmm.
And Joel Kinnaman's character he was basically good at nothing. He just got pushed from county into this position really to get rid of him, and then he ends up being a good guy with just some problems, and being with Lyndon has made him a better cop and that kind of thing. Season 4, a lot of that starts to fall apart, but I don't know. I can't say enough good things. I really want to tell you what's going on, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody, so we'll just put a pin in it right there. Go see The Killing.
There you go. There you go. Well, that gives us a perfect opportunity to segue into something else that another show recently that has come out that has somebody who sucks at everything else in their life, or their life is basically sucked except for the one thing that they do really well, and that is kill people. Um, so, you and I both have finished The Punisher.
I have not finished it.
You haven't finished it? Oh, I thought you had already finished it by now.
No, we're almost done. We're like on episode 9.
I mean, ooh. So
well, we started The Killing before The Punisher came out.
Okay.
And then we stopped watching The Killing to watch The Punisher, and then after a while it's like, I gotta see who killed this girl. So we went back to The Killing and have been watching it ever since.
I gotcha. So where are you at in The Punisher? What's happened so far?
Holy cow!
Because I want to. So you said you're up to 9.
Yeah.
So you've seen. Okay, now I'm gonna put spoiler warning to this for anyone who hasn't watched any of it. I'm going to try really hard not to spoil anything from episode 10 through 13. So bear with me as I get everything in place. So have you seen the DHS sting to try to capture the corrupt person trying to kill Frank Castle?
I don't think so. I think the last thing I saw was when he took care of all those guys and buried them in cement.
Oh, wow! You're still really early then. Has he met Micro?
Yes.
Okay.
So, wait a minute. I'm trying to think. He's met Micro. They're to that point where Micro saw him kiss his wife. Holy shit.
Okay.
And then I think another episode after that is where I am.
Okay. Yeah. So you're probably around episode 9-ish then.
Around what?
You're probably around episode 9.
I think we're getting ready to start 9.
Yeah. So, first of all, broad strokes of this show. The Punisher is awesome. If you like any of the Marvel Netflix shows, you will like Punisher. Any of them. Because Punisher is... If you liked Daredevil, the first season of Daredevil, Punisher just follows right in line with the first season of Daredevil. It's different from the second season. You know, the first and second seasons of Daredevil kind of are at odds with each other. They don't kind of follow the same flow. Punisher fits right in with where he shows up in like that. Maybe even, I guess, more even the first half of the second season, where he's in Daredevil. It's really good. This is really good, but this is also not. And the reason I compare this to the first season of Daredevil, everyone has seen the first season of Daredevil, so I can't spoil it for anyone. The first season of Daredevil has story points. It has character development. It has a plot that is played out through the whole thing. Punisher has that same thing. It does an extremely good job of making you feel sorry for Frank Castle. It does a really good job of making you, and it gets even more for you when you get into the later episodes. The connection that Frank has with his wife and the torment that he has on a daily basis, waking up not having his wife and kids with him, that plays out even more towards the end of the season, and it gives you I don't know, it develops the Frank Castle character way more than any of the other Marvel characters. You know, more than Daredevil, more than um, way more than Iron Fist, but even more than Jessica Jones, more than Luke Cage. Like, you know who Frank is by the end of this season, and that is that's a credit to the writers. That's a credit to the director. It's it's spot on. That's that's just really all I can say. It's spot on.
Yeah, it's dark as well. I you know if anybody think, oh, a superhero TV show, we should watch that. It's dark.
Yeah, it's oh yeah,
He's anything but a superhero, to be honest. He is basically a guy with who wants to be left alone. To quote Liam Neeson, he's got a specific set of skills that you just don't want to mess with.
yeah,
And people keep pushing his buttons, and he keeps using his skills. And that part of the show I really like. When he goes off, I
yeah,
love that.
yeah.
I absolutely love it.
Well, and I think that's also part of it's it's also watching him develop that, you know, he has to have a sense of control. You know, to be able to turn it on and off, and you know, only do the what he needs to do when he wants to do it type thing. But watching him develop even more to using cunning, and you get to see more cunning out of Frank. You get to see more, you know, it's not as um I still like comparing it back to the first season of Daredevil. Matt Murdock, Daredevil, in the first season was just a blunt instrument. He didn't really think about anything that he was doing. He just went out and did it. And that was that was the first half of season 2 with uh when Punisher was in Daredevil. That was Frank Castle being that same kind of blunt instrument, just going about doing the one thing that he does really well. This season, you know, his standalone show, you see him develop from being that blunt instrument into being somebody who was cunning enough to basically entrapment, you know, entrapment, that's not the right word, but entrap the, you know, this conspiracy against him, the people who killed his family. He was able to trap them in their own game type thing.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that was a big change for 13 episodes. To change a character that much, I thought was just awesome.
Yeah, John Barenthal is highly underrated, I think.
Yeah.
I thought, well, you know, he's going to be able to play the angry guy with a gun pretty well, but he's shown a lot of range in this TV show, so hats off to him.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, yeah, he did an incredible job. I got to give I also would give a shout out to Ben Barnes, who plays Billy Russo.
Yeah,
Um he's good. He's
he's
good, and
definitely good.
yeah, you ain't seen nothing yet. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling there was going to be some serious shit with him.
Yeah. So I think this show is great. There are a few things that I felt were well, there's one part that I'm not a huge fan of, and I think you're far enough along. I know you're far enough along to know the character. His name's Lewis Wilson. It's the young ex-marine that is living in the hole in his
Yeah.
dad's backyard. Um, he his story. I have a feeling it's gonna come back because he's still on the run. But I'm trying to look through here and see where it is because I don't want to reveal stuff. Um, yeah, I think if you're starting season or episode 9, then you're gonna find out a little bit more about Lewis, and he takes a little bit more of a prominent role for a short period of time. Um, he's just like he's something that's going on in the background, and it's I understand why they had him in there, and maybe it's I don't know, maybe there wasn't any thought about it, but it kind of has it kind of hits home a little bit. You know, it's a little the Lewis character is a little bit almost scary in the sense of you can kind of see and understand what is going on even now with, you know, society in this day and age, and you know, the awareness of suicide rates among, you know, the discharged military. You know, it's deep. It's deep and thought provoking and very emotional, as
Yes.
well as dark and disturbing. And so I wasn't as big of a fan of that character and that storyline, which I'm not going to give too much away because you haven't seen it yet. But be prepared, that's coming. And I would love to get more of your thoughts on that. The other character in this that I absolutely despise, and I wish she was not in it nearly as much, is Deborah Ann Wall and Karen Page. She
Oh,
do,
really?
she doesn't need to be here. She doesn't need. She had a purpose in Daredevil at the beginning, and now it almost feels like she's the only reason she was in this was to try to blend the two of them together more, to blend the Daredevil and Punisher worlds together. But you didn't need that. You didn't need that after Daredevil and Punisher actually fought each other in Daredevil. Like you don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
Her constant crying and complaining of Frank, you need to stop doing this. Frank, you need to stop killing people. There's other ways to do this. Just after her doing it with in all the Daredevil episodes, and then doing it in all of the Defenders episodes, and then doing it now in every episode she was in the Punisher, it just comes off as annoying. She's, you know, it's like, do you not realize that nobody is listening to you anymore? Like, at some point, you have to stop. Um, but she, you know, her character is used in this. But she didn't have to be. You could have had anybody in that role. You could have had. It didn't have to be Karen Page. It could have been somebody else. It, you know, um,
Well, maybe Rosario Dawson wasn't available.
that's very possible. That's very possible. And well, and the other thing is they almost kind of have this Frank Castle, Karen Page, almost not quite love interest, but like almost, you know,
Yeah, they
type
feel
thing.
like they're leaning that way.
Yeah, it they don't really do it. I well, you've got a little bit more. I think she it gets a little bit worse in a couple more episodes, and then she basically just disappears. Um, she's got her involvement is more in the Lewis storyline that only has a couple more episodes before it kind of goes away. Um, so I just don't like her character anymore. I'm done with her character, or her character needs to evolve. We know nothing about Karen Page or her past or her background, and I know that she's not this focal point, but you still need character development for even some of the other characters. And if she's going to be in every goddamn episode of a Punisher or Daredevil or Defenders season, like, then you need to develop her character. We need to have a reason why she's the way she is, and we have to actually give a shit about her. And right now, I don't. So,
Well, there is that.
yeah. But
I
other
actually
than that,
like her character, but um, maybe I haven't gotten far enough into the season to reach the conclusion you have.
yeah,
So,
no, you haven't yet. It'll get there. Just wait, because there's a whole. I want to say there's a whole like 5-10 minute scene of her just yelling at Frank the same way she yelled at Frank in the second season of Daredevil, and the same way she yelled at Matt Murdock when she found out he was Daredevil and that he was beating people up, and then the same way she tried to stop the Defenders from doing the stuff that the Defenders were doing, and she wanted them to just, no, use the system, use the system. No, don't do things, don't be a vigilante. God damn it, this is a show about vigilantes. Stop having somebody in it telling them not to be vigilantes. Like, but that maybe that's just me, and I got annoyed with it. But just wait, and I'll be interested to see what you think.
yeah,
We'll do a
I guess a Kip update when I finally finish the damn thing.
we'll do a whole spoiler a spoiler talk on it, because I will, we can talk more about some of the different things that we want to see continue. They did, I don't know if there's a second season that's, in the works.
I would think so.
I hope so. I hope so, but wait till you get to the end, and then we can decide. We can talk about where we think that'll go. So,
All right. Yeah.
um,
Now I need to hurry up and finish the killing so I can watch that.
yeah, yeah. So next week you will have Punisher finished, because you are getting to the point of Punisher. Like, how many episodes you got left of the killing?
2.
Two. So you can knock those out probably tomorrow night.
Yeah, actually 1.5. We started the second to the last one before the podcast, so
Gotcha. So you'll be finishing those really soon, and you don't have that much left of Punisher, and the episodes that you have coming will go really quick because they are really fast paced. You're hitting the climax, and it's going to start going downhill on that roller coaster really fast. So,
okay.
be prepared for that ride. It's fun. It is really fun. Um, but yeah, I think that's what we got right now. I'm loving. So there's a couple of shows for you to watch: The Killing and Punisher. Go check those out. I gotta give Steve Lightfoot, the writer for Punisher, I gotta give him a lot of credit, because I think
Give him some love.
yeah, he did an incredible job with this. The story for this thing is great. Um, I also think it's funny that um, Frank goes by Pete Castelloni, which is actually, in the comic books, Castelloni is actually his real name. It's not
Oh.
Castle. So he ended up getting called Frank Castle, but his real name was Frank Castelloni. So I thought that was a great callback, that for a little comic book geek, that I don't know a lot about Punisher, but I know a little bit, and if I'm catching some of these things, then there are definitely some softballs out there. Um, I watching this makes me want to go read some Punisher comic books, so I'm gonna have to go
Yeah.
see if I can't find me some good Punisher.
I don't know if it's a little disappointing or what that his real name is Castelloni. Because it reminds me way too much of, you're probably too young for this, but a movie called Cobra, Sylvester Stallone.
I don't know. Oh,
And
um,
he was called Cobra, but his last name was Cobretti. And ever since then, anytime somebody does that with a name, I automatically think of that movie. It's like, come on, you can do better than
yeah.
that. But
Well, you also got to remember that Punisher has been around for a while, and he's you know they don't they don't always do these things right the first time.
no, it's totally fine. It's just I go there. It's my
Yeah.
problem, not the TV show's problem. It's mine.
Right. Yeah. So, Punisher's first appearance in comic books was February 1974 in Amazing Spider-Man 129. So, yeah, he's been around a while.
Yeah,
1974.
yeah. Cobra came out like in the '80s, so yeah, he's got precedence.
Yeah. Yeah. He wins. Sylvester Stallone can suck it. Yeah, that's right. Sly, you heard it. Come find me.
Yeah, I want to see that actually. So I hope he does.
If he's listening to this and gets upset by that, then I think there'll be more props for our podcast than me getting my ass kicked by Stallone. So
Yeah, if Stallone is listening to this, then I could probably quit my job.
exactly, throw us some love, man. Throw us some love. All right, I think that is a good place to uh, wrap this up. Um, be sure to go check out everything we're doing. You can follow our blog at geekvice.blogspot.com. You can hit us up on Facebook, facebook.com/geekvice. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, tiny.cc/geekvice. If you sign up on the YouTube channel, you'll get notified when these videos go live, when we're doing the recordings, and you can come join us in the chat. And you'll also get access to the Geekvice gaming stuff when that comes up too. You'll get a notification when that gets posted. Let's see, what else? Twitter, that man over there at Kip Killigan. You can follow me at Geekvice. And of course, you can always reach us by email at geekvice@gmail.com. Thanks everyone for listening to our ramblings, and we will see you next time.
Later.
This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.